Hello guys, this is What About Nintendo. I'm joined with Andres Restart here. I'll let him introduce himself in a bit. But we are here for a Xenoblade Chronicles discussion. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, more specifically. This is part 1. It's going to be completely spoiler-free. We're just going to be talking about gameplay mechanics and such. So, part 2 will be spoilers, but this one you don't have to worry about that. But we're going to get into it after Andres introduces himself. Introduce yourself, Andres.
Hi. Hey, how's it going, guys? Sorry, I'm just kind of... I'm alright. This is Andres Restart. If you haven't seen me before, me and Brandon do a lot of stuff together, and I'm excited to actually talk about Xenoblade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go then.
Yeah.
Right. So, I guess we should probably start off with battle mechanics. I guess that's a good starting place. I don't really have a list here of things, but we're just gonna go off of memory here.
Are we going to talk about spoilers, or are we gonna?
Not in this one. I'll let you know next episode.
But okay, I guess the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like there are battle mechanics that are spoilery.
Yeah, those we won't bring up, but just the basic ones. Obviously,
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. Where those we won't bring up, but most of the mechanics we will. We will bring those up in the second half. So. We will talk about those, but for now, let's stay clear of those. But yeah, I guess I'll let you go first since you're the guest. What are your overall thoughts on the general battle mechanics of this game?
So the battle mechanics for Xenoblade 2, I think they're very deep, very engaging. I love it. I think it's an amazing system. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've made multiple videos about them, and I think it's very deep and it's very satisfying once you understand it. But that's the thing, though. It's there's a lot to it, and it takes time before the game introduces you to all the mechanics. And even if you pay attention to all the basic tutorials of the game, there are some things that it just will not plainly tell you or very clearly tell you. So some people may not like that. Now, I'm okay. I'm the kind of person that likes challenging games. I don't necessarily like hand-holding. But there are some things I should have had to do research for or a lot of experimentation for before I fully understood it. And it's not really that different from previous Xenoblade games. In fact, I would say that this game kind of helps you out more so than the other games. But still, I found that a lot of people have struggled to really understand the battle mechanics. And tutorials have been they've been a necessity. And even then, some people are still struggling with it. So, I think it's kind of one of those things where, I think you can still enjoy the game without fully understanding the battle system, but I think there are some people who may be frustrated with that. But overall, if you're the kind of person that is into, really delving deep into complex battle systems, you'll find this one, once you get it, it's super satisfying, super engaging. There's a lot going on, but the game, for the most part, does sort of slowly teach you the basic mechanics. And overall, it's one of my favorite battle mechanics and systems in an RPG ever. It's up there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the game, I think a lot of the problem is that they don't let you review tutorials. They just kind of say, "Yo, here's how it works," and you're like, "Oh yeah, okay." Blah blah blah. You read through it, and then you could very easily miss them.
To go back and watch them.
Yeah, there's
totally
absolutely
true.
no way. So I mean, gosh, it must have been really difficult for those people who were reviewing this game before it came out. They just didn't understand something. It was just like, well, there's no guides. You can't just ask. You can't. I mean, you could try to ask somebody else, but I mean, if you don't have connections, that'd be really difficult. So it's a very interesting case there because they don't. I don't know why they don't let you review things, even though they have hotkeys for ridiculously useless things like how to run around. It's just that's hotkeys on the D-pad because that makes sense. But yeah, I think the battle mechanics are very, very deep. Once you fully understand everything, once you fully unlock everything, it's crazy all the stuff you can pull off. And my brother who played the game, he played the game for 40, 50 hours, and he was just watching me play, and he's like, "How'd you pull all this stuff off? How'd you do all this stuff?" And I'm like, "Well, you gotta do this and this and this." And he was like, "I never even knew you do that." And I'm like, "I just told you in the tutorials." He's like, "Yeah, but I kind of skipped through those because I thought I knew what I was doing." So yeah, you gotta kind of pay attention and make sure you know what's going on. But I mean, once you learn how everything works, it's really, really smooth. I think that's a good way to put it. Like, once you unlock everything and once you know everything works, you can just go from A to B to C to D, and just everything like folds into itself and continues. Like, it's just a continuous thing.
It's interesting because the people who don't get the battle system, they say the battle system is slow, and I'm just like not really, right? Because I guess even if you do fully understand the battle system early on, you do have to wait a couple moments before you can start like dealing with your arts and switching into different blades. But as you go through the game, you can build up affinity, right? And even with your own, not just blades, but actual drivers, they can build up certain skills, and some of those skills will enable them to do some of their arts immediately.
Yeah.
So once you get to that point, you literally can start doing attacks immediately. Like, there's no slowness to it. And so I don't really think it's slow. And the thing is, once you understand how arts work, how you can build up arts, how you can do your auto attacks, how you can switch to different blades, and how that all links up into doing different blade combos and specials, which lead up to building up different elemental orbs. And so you basically get to the point where you're just building up one elemental orb after another, while looking for moments to topple and such to make it easier to build up more and more elemental orbs. I mean, that's the basic concept here. You want to build up as many elemental orbs as you can. So when you go into a chain attack, the more elemental orbs you have, the more you break during that chain attack, the more damage you can do. So once you understand all of that, it really just becomes this balancing factor between knowing where you're going to go with the blade combo directions, like his one element leads to another and then to another, and just paying attention to what the enemies are doing, how your party is gathering potions, making sure they're in good position, healing them and letting them heal you, and if anyone falls, bringing them up, then just kind of positioning yourself. Like, there's always different things that sort of layer on top of each other, and you have to be paying attention to all of it. So there's a lot going on as you kind of figure it all out. So I don't really feel like the system is simplistic or slow at all. Like, it's very engaging. So I mean, but it's just, the thing is, like I said before, a lot of people are struggling to figure it all out, and some people have not been able to fully enjoy the battle system.
Yeah, for sure. And also, another thing I like about it is there's a lot of different play styles you can go. Being able to, have any blade pretty much, as long as you awaken it from its core crystal. And you have so many different fighting styles. You could be a tank, you could be a healer, you could be an attacker, you could be all three if you have all three of those blades, and you could switch between being in those different, types of play. It's so much more open and free, I guess, than some of the other RPGs where you kind of have to do one thing or the other. I feel like you can focus on everything if you wanted to. You could focus on just one thing. Like, there's a lot of options here, especially being able to, trade between blades, which is really, really nice. Because when I first started playing the game, I was started playing as an attacker, but then I quickly started dying and not having enough health, so I started switching to a healer. And by the end of the game, when you unlock some super special stuff you can do, we'll be talking about in part 2, I started just, I'd screw everything. I just started going ham on everyone and not even worrying about picking up potions or, making sure I get the back attacks and side attacks. I just made sure I was throwing arts, leveling up my elementals, and then just doing blade combos over and over again, and then doing a chain attack to break all the orbs. Like, my playstyle changed drastically in different parts of the game, and I feel like that's something it's harder to do in other RPGs.
So, I mean, yeah, I feel like as you progress through the game, you will learn how to play the system better, and depending on certain enemies, you may have to change your strategy as well. Like, sometimes, you won't, there are some enemies that won't let you do more than one tier 1 special, so you won't be able to build up your blade combos or break elemental orbs, so you have to do things slightly differently. Or there may be enemies that just won't, like, if you decide to fight a higher level enemy, you may want to focus on just recovery, like intense recovery. But overall, for the basic setup, I think as you progress with the battle system and learn more and more about it, you will learn how to build up blade combos, how to break, topple, smash, and launch, and gather potions all together collectively without missing a beat. But that is a huge process, and it may take you well over 100 hours before you get to that point. But just a little thing, Brandon. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but like when you press a special, right? What happens is that the driver it tells the blade to do an attack essentially, because most of the time the driver's doing the attack with the auto attacks, right, and the arts. But when you do a special, the blade does the attack. So when this happens, you literally toss up your weapon to your blade, and they start doing the attack. So when it's a tier 1 or 2 special, it's not a cutscene. So what this means is that you are no longer holding a weapon as a driver. So you actually run a lot quicker, and you can run around the map as your blade is attacking with its special and gather potions very quickly.
Yeah, I did notice that, though it's harder because you kind of have to balance that because you need to do the time attack or the time button presses.
Yeah, so you need to be able to run and also at the same time be prepared to hit the B button at the same time. It's doable, but it's challenging. But if you get good at it, you can get good, right? Like you can hit those B prompts all the time, get as many potions as possible, build up your chain attacks, your blade combos, launch as many arts as you can. Like it's all, there's a lot to the battle system, and like, well, to achieve mastery, there's greater and greater levels, and then of course there's a lot of variance between which blades you pick. And what's interesting is that the blades are like Pokemon, right? Like you want to collect as many blades as you can. There's a lot of variety with the special blades, so it's interesting, and especially because you want to think about which party members you have, right? Which blades you're using, and that can kind of affect your strategy, the blade combo directions you pick going into battle. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of options, and it's very deep. It's an incredibly deep battle system, and like I said, once you get it, it's magic. It's
so good, and it flows so well once you understand how everything works. Yeah. But I think we've said enough about the battle system. I think we both agree it's really good, and we explained everything we liked about it. So I think we should move on to some other gameplay mechanics. And the first one I want to start out with is something that I found really annoying, but I've heard other people actually really like, and that is field skills. I freaking hate field skills. They suck. I hate how they don't explain how to level them up. I hate how they don't explain that sometimes you actually have to use them. Like there are some parts I was like, oh, field skills, you don't always have to have them. So I thought I was going somewhere and you have to use field skills to get to the next section. I was like, oh, this must be an optional thing. I'm going to go find out where I'm actually supposed to go. I ran around for like 20 minutes and was like, well, there's absolutely nowhere else to go, so I guess I have to go over here and do this. And I think
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's a story thing, so we're not going to get into specifics because it could be, a spoiler. But yeah, there are going to be moments within the story that you will need to use field skills. There's a few of them. Like I would say like a handful, like 4 or 5 throughout the course of the entire story. You're going to need to use the field skill.
Yeah.
The rest are all optional. But yeah, and the thing is, you do have to level them up. And the thing is, though, they're actually pretty easy to level up because you have to just go check the thing. But the thing is, the game doesn't really ever tell you to level them up, right? But once you figure out that you have to do it, you go to your individual blade with a different type of field skills and see, oh, how do I level up this field skill? And it's usually, oh, just eat 10 pieces of fish, right? Or take this person to this, heart to heart in this town. And so you, for the most part, the building up the at least the essential field skills to progress with the story can be done very quickly. But the problem is that no one knows how to do that because the game doesn't blatantly tell you. You have to be someone who actually invests in expanding out all of your different stats to discover that sort of thing. But at first I was like, oh crap, when I got to a point, I was like, oh, how do I do this? But once I looked at it and I was like, oh, so this is how I do it. Like at first it seemed really daunting, but once I realized how easy it was, I was like, oh, okay, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But I will say that while I did like the idea of the field skills, the one problem as we're talking about now is the fact that you didn't really know how important they were to the story until you get to that point, so you hadn't built them up really, right? But also when you do have to set up different characters to have the right field skills available in your party, you have to go in and maneuver, look through your different blades and move it around. And sometimes you're not even sure if you have the right, you even have the field skills. So sometimes you may look and you're like, oh, I don't have it, so then you have to go and build it up. I do wish they had a more like intuitive, simpler way to navigate that entire process.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a gripe. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
have to agree with you. It's a little annoying. Like I said, I like the idea of field skills. I just wish it was a bit quicker and more intuitive.
Yeah, I actually do like the idea of field skills, actually, but I hate the implementation of it. Having to constantly be switching around your party to find different blades, and then realizing that, oh wait, I have one too many wind blades on this person and not on this person, so I can't actually equip enough even though I have them, is super annoying. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a tedious process. Like, it's not fun to do that. It's not rewarding to do that. It's just tedious and annoying. It feels like an obstacle, and it breaks the pacing, I feel like, a lot as well. Because when you go and you're exploring around and you find something, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go over here and use this field skill, and then all of a sudden you can't, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna stop, spend like 10 minutes looking through my blades, figure out, which ones I need, and then which characters have them, and try to equip them all, and then I'm gonna be one short, and then I'm gonna have to go and eat 10 fish for who knows why that levels up a field skill, and then I'm gonna have to fast travel as quick as as close as I can, and then walk all the way back, and then equip all the blades I need, or oh wait, I got into a fight and I have the crappiest blades ever because I'm trying to use this field skill. Like, it just breaks the pacing up a lot, and I feel like it could have been way more intuitive, it could have been way quicker and less just, it feels like a grind and something that just breaks up the pacing completely. But yeah.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. It's a little annoying. But I mean, overall, like, to me personally, I got over it. It wasn't that big of a deal, and I just kind of dealt with it. I mean, I feel like with RPGs in general, there's always like this process of navigating through menus and sort of doing that whole thing. With RPGs in general, that's kind of a thing that happens, where you have to navigate through menus and adjust your party members and such, and it can be a little cumbersome. But I guess part of that kind of comes with the territory. However, just because it's common amongst RPGs doesn't mean it's not a problem.
Exactly.
So it's something like it's common. Other RPGs suffer from something similar, but it still could be fixed. It could be better.
And it's strange because I feel like Xenoblade is one of the RPGs that has that kind of stuff the least. Especially, I mean, like, their battle system, everything's like reachable in the battle system with like one or two presses of a button, even though it's super complicated, or not super complicated, but it's deep is the word I'm looking for. It's super deep. There's a lot of stuff you could do, and yet it takes one or two button presses to get to everything. So it's strange that their battle system would be so smooth, and they would have some of these mechanics that just go to the opposite of that mindset. So it's very interesting how that works. But I feel like that's probably the biggest gripe I have with the game, to be honest. It's just the stupid field skills. I just don't like them. But a tip for anybody who's having trouble with those: when you get a notification that you've learned an affinity skill, or one of your blades has upgraded a skill, make sure to go to their affinity chart and check. Go to their affinity chart and just scroll through all their blades.
Until you go to their affinity chart.
Yes, exactly.
So
you do not actually have this skill until you go and check on it and unlock it, which kept me from unlocking a bunch of skills I would have unlocked naturally because I was not checking, because the game does not tell you that at all. So I was like,
so that moment you went and checked your affinity chart, you probably gained like 60 arts.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Not arts, but skills. Yeah, that's true. So just another thing that I guess could have been smoothed out.
Yeah. But overall, not a huge problem. Definitely didn't take that much enjoyment out of the game. I feel like it could have made my enjoyment better if they had implemented it smoother, and because there are definitely parts of the story where I spent over an hour being like, what the heck am I supposed to do? And was so confused. So, maybe they'll have an update where they fix some of those problems. I'm not sure if they will. They haven't so far.
Well, they did fix the map a little bit.
That's true. They did fix the map.
It became a little nicer to use.
Oh, it's way better in my opinion. Like, it's still not perfect, but just being able to actually see, because before it was always like super zoomed in, so you could only see like a tiny bit around where you are. Now there's different options where you can have it farther out and you can actually see. Also, skip travel is much better if you click, I believe X is the hotkey for that. it now takes you to exactly in your area instead of the overall area, and then you have to go find out where you are and then skip travel around there, which is much nicer than before. But yeah, I just think field skills is probably the biggest gripe I have with the game. I just wanted to know what you thought about them. But I think next we should probably talk about side quests. Now, side quests isn't something I did a lot when playing the game, and I'm going to do a lot more of them now that I've beaten the game, because I wanted to go through the story. But when I did do side quests, I thought they were really good. I thought they were better than the other side quests in the other games. There were a surprising amount of side quests that were actually voiced, and that weren't just go kill this enemy, okay, here's the 100 gold, goodbye. Like, they actually felt like they built up the world. You felt like these are kind of actual people with actual problems, and you got to solve these problems and see just how the world develops and how your characters develop as you do these side quests. And they give you freaking amazing rewards, some of them. Like, they're really worth doing if you take the time. So I feel like they're a lot less tedious and a lot more rewarding in both story and just the actual physical rewards you get for doing them. What do you think?
So, I think to me it's more of a mixed bag, in the sense that there's a lot of side quests. There's an obscene amount of side quests in the game. You're going to be finding them all the time. Now, what's interesting is that, yeah, you're going to have your standard, fetch quest. That is a big part of the side quest. But there are some side quests that do have a bit of a narrative to them, and you're kind of curious, oh, how did this person die, right? Like, you're going to find dead bodies, you're going to find footprints sometimes, you're going to be like, oh, it's kind of like a scavenger hunt, it's kind of like a mystery you have to solve. So sometimes it's pretty interesting to kind of figure out what's going on exactly sometimes, which I really like. And, sometimes it leads to finding a powerful enemy, and that's pretty cool, or sometimes it may lead to literally getting a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex drunk so you can kill it, because otherwise it's level 92 and you can't. So yeah, there's some interesting moments, and what's also interesting, it's not just normal side quests, there's also Blade quests, and I think Blade quests is where it's really at, because those include scenes and dialogue and some funny moments that are pretty cool. Like, one that, there's eventually a Blade quest for Poppy, I'm not going to say any more than that, but that was one of the first Blade quests I did, and that one was very enjoyable, and it's not necessary for the main story at all. So, there's some cool stuff there for sure. I liked it. And what's also interesting, and you sort of mentioned this, is that as you do these different side quests, they kind of advance the different civilizations you're with. So, like, some side quests literally change the people that you may see in the town, how people may interact with you. Like, it leads to changes, and also helps to develop your town, which could lead to having more resources around, more things you could buy at the stores. So, yeah, these side quests and Blade quests are kind of integrated into developing each civilization or town that you find in the different provinces, and that it's interesting. Like, it gives you more incentive to develop these towns and find more, and because the more quests you do, the more you advance, and
yeah, for sure,
it's fun.
And I think the Blade side quests are especially amazing, in my opinion. They're all pretty much fully voiced. They use characters that I just didn't think were really going to be used. Like, when you get a rare blade, every rare blade is unique. Every rare blade has a unique personality, and they all their own side quests that bring out these personalities. And it really goes to show that, like, these blades you're awakening, when you awaken them, they kind of feel like, oh, it's just like, they almost feel like a tool that you're using to, go through the game and fight monsters. But when you do these quests, you see, like, these are actually almost like people. They all have personalities, they all have thoughts and emotions, and it's really nice to see that, and to see the world being just that much more fleshed out, and not just seeing these blades as just tools or something to use to beat up monsters and stuff. And they all have, like, super unique personalities. Like, some of them, their powers are so strong they can't control them, and they accidentally hurt people a lot, so they have to get their powers under control. And some of them are really good singers, but they're super shy, so they don't like being on stage, so you gotta help them out. Like, it's just crazy stuff you wouldn't expect from a blade that you usually use to go kill super powerful monsters and stuff. So I feel like it fleshed out the world a lot, because in the context of the story, blades are typically talked about as, like, your partner, like, as people you can talk to and interact with, and you kind of only see that outside of these quests from the main blades, the actual story context ones. But going and having these other, side quests for the normal blades, normal rare blades, is really cool. But yeah, I don't know, overall I think the side quests are a lot better than they were in X, because I don't know, X just had terrible side quests in my opinion. Most of them were boring. None of them pretty much did anything that useful for you except give you money, and none of them really had anything to do with like world building. Some of them did every once in a while, but most of them didn't. I feel like Xenoblade original one on the Wii did a bit of a better job with this, but it's still nothing compared to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's just Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is just another cut above all of those. In my opinion, it's the best side quest that they've had in the series so far. Would you agree with that, Andres?
I'll say this. I haven't been as invested into doing side quests with the previous two Xenoblade games, but I am a bit more so with this one. So I guess I'm saying that I feel like I can't give an entirely fair analysis of that, because I didn't give the other two Xenoblade games that much time in terms of side quests. I didn't do that much in Xenoblade 1, and basically played just the story, and I tried a couple side quests, but I didn't really care to really develop Colony 9 that much. And then in Xenoblade X, I did do a few more, because there was a lot of heart-to-hearts that were easier to find as opposed to Xenoblade 1. And in this game, heart-to-hearts are even easier to find, so I'm definitely way more encouraged to find more heart-to-hearts and to do the heart-to-heart quest, the blade quests. So I would say it's better, at least in terms of the game encouraging me to explore the quests. Like I said, because I haven't played as many quests in the other games, I don't know how good those ultimately were. But this game at least does a much better job of getting me to want to do it. So I'm going to say yes, it's definitely the best of the three that have come out so far.
Alright, cool. I think we should move on from the side quest and go over to, I think this is probably going to be the last topic we'll do for this one, unless you have anything after this. But I think we should talk about the worlds themselves, or at least in a basic sense. We can go over them more fully in the second part, but I want to go over them in a basic sense. How do you feel about the world itself? Because there's a lot of Titans, but they're a lot smaller than, I feel like the areas in 1, and definitely in X, of course. But I feel like there's some things that are better about them as well. But I'll let you go first here. What do you think about the overall worlds?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of maps. There's a lot of maps. I'm not going to put a number because I don't want to risk spoiling anyone, right? But, I think there's a decent amount of different Titans to explore. And, you may find a Titan and you may think, oh, this is, a lot of them have large scope. You might, of course, there's the one that everyone knows about, Gormott, right? Gormott is like a giant deer, and you see this giant beast, you see him moving his head in the background, it's crazy. And the thing is, you get to a point where you kind of sort of have a sort of basic understanding of the map layout, and you may even kind of convince yourself, oh, this is not that big, it's kind of simplistic. You can't, I was a little disappointed because you can't actually explore the entirety of the Titans. I thought maybe there would be a way to get all the way to the top of Gormott's head, and as far as I'm aware, you can't, right? So that's a little disappointing to me. But even so, as I explore more and more of these different Titans, I find that, they're deceptively larger than they actually are. They're all big, don't get me wrong. They're big areas, but there's a lot of nooks and crannies and a lot of little things to find within them. And you may not notice that your first time through them, or even your first few times through them. It's only when you really go back and start doing side quests and exploring around, you start finding all these different little points, different moments to use your field skills to access, maybe create an ice bridge, or go up a wind tunnel, or down a water slide, or burn up a bush that leads to a hole underground. And of course, and there's a lot to it. So, I like that the Titans, I guess, encourage exploration. I do, I guess I always want more, right? I always want more. I can never be satisfied. But if I try to reserve my lofty expectations, I would say that there's a lot to explore. There's a lot of exotic environments that look really, really cool. The scope is beautiful, and if you take the time to explore, you're gonna find a lot of little secrets, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree that they really encourage exploration. There's a lot of things that will just catch your eye. You'll be going around and they'll be like, oh, what's over there? And oh, what's over there? And oh, there's a cave over here. Oh crap, their monsters are like 40 levels higher than me. Run away. So even you can explore like areas as you go through. But even if you explore all the areas you can with enemies that are competent to you, it encourages you to, once you level up, once you go to the next area or the next area after that, you can level up high enough to come back and start being high enough level to beat the monsters in this other area of a previous Titan that were too higher level for you, so you couldn't explore that area. So now you can go back and explore even more of the Titan than you could before. So it not only encourages exploration while you're going through, but encourages you to level yourself up, get stronger, and then come back and explore again, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, because I mean, there are gonna be enemies in every single Titan. They're gonna be like, oh, that's way too strong for me. So there's gonna be points where like you're gonna realize, oh wait, I am strong enough to beat this guy now. So you're gonna go back there, and you may be able to find more secrets, beat more enemies, find special chests and stuff, and maybe find more cool side quests and get some really cool treasure, like perhaps a legendary, blade orb that could give you a pretty special blade. So yeah, it's fun, man. I've enjoyed it.
All right, cool. I just thought of another one actually that will end this part one, this non-spoiler part on, and that is music. How could I forget? This game has amazing music. So what do you think of overall on the music of this game? Obviously, without going into spoilers of later titles, just in general.
So I think you really have to divide the music into maybe 3 segments. Okay, so you have the segments of the overworld music, right? As you're running around through these different giant Titan worlds, right? And those set pieces are like usually these giant, beautiful, very soothing but grand orchestral pieces. Then you have the battles, which are a lot faster paced, usually kind of rockish and poppy, and there's a few different variants depending what sort of type of enemy or category you're facing. And then there's the music you see when you're experiencing different cutscenes in the story. And I have to say that I like each of them in their own way. I think they're all very fitting. If I had to say the one that's the weakest of those three categories, I would say that the fighting music is good, but it's not as good as, say, like the overall like orchestral music that you see as you're exploring the different worlds, or the music you see during the story. And I'm really just saying that because like the fighting music is good, but like a lot of times I'm just enjoying the music in, for example, Gormont, right? And I'm waiting for that moment where it hits the vocals and they start like going, like it's like a gospel thing. I love that moment. But then
it's so good.
A wolf will approach me and be like, oh crap, they'll interrupt it.
Yeah, actually, so, I very much agree with that. Like, as good as the battle system music is, it's kind of like avoid battles because the overall music is so good, which I don't think is really like bad. It's not that the battle system music is bad. It's just that the overall music is just too good. It's just like I just want to listen to that all the time.
It's amazing. So sometimes you don't want to fight because sometimes when you fight, the music changes and it's it takes away from what you were listening to. But like I said, it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, I was recording for a video late at night a couple weeks ago, and I was in a snowy region. I'm not going to say where, right? And I kind of just fell asleep, and the game was on for like 6 hours, right? And my cousin comes in, and she's like, "Holy shit! Like, what have you been listening to this whole time?" I'm just like, "Oh, I don't know. I was just like sleeping to this beautiful, like I just fell asleep to this." It was a beautiful
lullaby.
Yeah, so it's great, man. And then the story moments, like the music within the story moments, it really does help to sell some pretty great moments. In fact, if anything, I love the story, but like sometimes the dialogue of the story or the animations, the dialogue is fine. It has more like the animations don't always match up pretty well.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like maybe the weakest part of the story. So sometimes it may be the execution of certain like epic moments doesn't always work out as well as it could have, right? But the music is always on point and is very strong. It really helps to sell some pretty emotional moments throughout the story.
Yeah, well, we'll go further into the voice acting and in the story bit, because I'm sure there's some parts where we'll have to spoiler it essentially to talk exactly what we're talking about with the voice acting. But as far as, I actually kind of differ on how the voice or how the music is in some cutscenes, because most cutscenes they fit really, really well. But I feel like some cutscenes, like it was like the super epic part of the fight, and then it was just like super calm music, and I was like, I don't know if that fits exactly as much as I would like it to. So I feel like every once in a while there was this music that I feel like could have been a little bit more energetic when it was too calm. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of like, I feel like it could have been a bit better if it was just a little bit more energetic music in that one segment. I don't know if the music is different between the Japanese version or the American, depending on which version.
I don't think it is.
I don't think so. I know that has happened in like some animes and stuff, so I don't know if it is in this one. I don't think so. I wouldn't imagine so. But I feel like every once in a while it's just like, it's a little too calm. And I actually had some people who were watching me play, and they were watching a story cutscene. They're like, the music doesn't really go with that cutscene very well. I was like, yeah, I kind of agree. So I feel like they could have done a little bit better on which songs go with which scenes. But overall, I think it was pretty dang good job. And most of the scenes you got either really pumped up or you got really sad, depending on the context. So I feel like they did good most of the time fitting the music with the emotion of the cutscene.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you. I guess I just kind of forgot about them because overall, after playing through the game, I kind of just remember the really special moments. And a lot of this, there is some awkward moments. There are some parts that could have been executed better overall. But, it's just the beautiful parts of the game stand out so much that, a lot of the little things that sort of would normally bother me don't really bother me that much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. But unless you have anything else you want to talk about, that should be good for part 1. You have anything else you want to say overall? And the
just that if anyone who's watching this, who's not going to watch the second part because of spoilers, is on the fence about buying Xenoblade Chronicles 2, all I'm going to say is that if you are into anime, you will enjoy the story of this game a lot. If you are just into RPGs in general, you are doing yourself a disservice if you have a Nintendo Switch.
Oh, for sure.
If you don't get this game. You definitely need to get this game. We may have talked a lot about some of the critiques we have for the game, but don't let that confuse you or fool you. We love this game a lot, which is why we're talking about it. It's really good. And I definitely think that if you're a fan of RPGs and you have a Nintendo Switch, you need to get this game because it is the best RPG on the Nintendo Switch, and it's going to be really tough to top it.
Oh yeah, and it in my opinion, it is definitely in the top 3 best games out on the Switch at this point. So if you want to Switch and you even a little remotely like RPGs or anime or both, definitely pick up this game because it's right up there with Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's right up there with Mario Odyssey as far as being a good game to play on your Switch. So I definitely agree with what you're saying there. But anyways, guys, that's all for this video. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this Monday through Friday. Make sure to check out Andre's Restart channel. That'll be down in the description below, and we'll see you back here. I think I'm gonna upload this on a different day. I think I'm gonna upload this the next day after I upload this one. So part 2 should be coming out tomorrow for all you guys who are watching when this released. But we'll see you guys next time on What About Nintendo. Bye!
See ya.